So the question, will Democrats stay the course? Joining us now from Washington, D.C., Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings of Maryland. You know, I'm still on the question of how do two governor's races in two different states indicate what the Democrats might or might not be in for next year, when for sure in New Jersey it was about the economy, it was about outrageous property taxes. What's your take on that?
Well, you just said it. I mean, in New Jersey, we're talking about, you said outrageous property taxes. That's basically a local issue. And certainly people are upset generally because there's so many people who don't have jobs. I mean, and that's understandable. But I think, you know, while we put a lot of emphasis on the governor's races, and they were very, very important, I think we also need to look at whether the folks in, say, in California and the folk in New York in the congressional races supported the president's policies. Basically, what they've done is sent us two members to help support the president's side. So, I mean, I think that says something there. But again, I think the Virginia race shows us very clearly that the president has got to be out there come 2010, and he's going to have to help to campaign and help us with those elections. But at the same time, I'm not depressed over what happened on Tuesday. I think, as a matter of fact, the voters in those states sent us some help.
Congressman Cummings, I mean, it still remains that according to a Gallup poll, 54% of Americans think that the president's policies are, quote, liberal. Are you comfortable with that label? Is that okay?
I think that, you know, this is one president that you cannot corner into the liberal, moderate,
but they did. 54% think that his policies are liberal. So given that, does that word make you feel uncomfortable for upcoming elections or too cornered?
Not at all, because, you know, you got to remember, there were people that called me become humane because I want to see the people in my district have health care when they're sick. I want them to be able to be well. And they call me a liberal because of that. So I would imagine that it's easy to put labels on folk. The question is whether the president is responding to the needs of the American people as best he can.
Yeah.
And I think that he's doing a great job. To be frank with you, don't forget, we must never forget that he was left with a mess. I mean, a total mess. And he's trying to straighten it out. And it's going to take time. It's going to take effort.
But in the meantime, Congressman Cummings, he's up against declining approval rating in Congress. Even the Democrats in Congress are facing dropping approval ratings. Yes, the Republicans' rating is abysmal, but the Democrats' rating is nothing to crow about. Two, you look at what's happening on Capitol Hill today with these Tea Partiers out there. There's a lot of anger and frustration, and it's not all on the conservative side. There are independents who are frustrated, and there certainly are liberals or progressives who think that the president isn't doing enough to push forward that agenda. So how do you move forward into 2010 and try to convince voters to stay with the Democratic Party?
Sure. I think it's an excellent question. I think what we have to do is do what the president was elected to do. And one of the biggest issues that was on his plate in the campaign was to bring some kind of sense to our health system and improve our health care system. And he's doing that. I think that we'll get this bill through. We'll get a bill through with a public option. And I think then the public will say, okay, you know, they're moving. And moving rapidly. I think the public is just kind of frustrated right now because, again, of the jobless rate and because they want us to move, and we are. And so just give us a little time. Polls, as you know, you may have one poll saying one thing in November and saying a whole nother thing in January.
Right.
And so I think you're going to see that.
That's true.
Congressman Cummings, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you all.
American